Information, inspiration, motivation. You are now listening to the Going North podcast, where you're going to get all three of those things and more. I'm your host, author, speaker, and book enthusiast, Dom Brightman. And every week, we're going to be hearing from an author who's going to share their expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. Hey, how's it going? Thanks a bunch for your listening ears, and it's time now because it's here. Book number 2 is finally here. Stay the Course. The Elite Performers, 7 Keys to Sustainable Success. And you can pre-order your ebook copy today by heading over to Amazon.com and pressing that Buy Now button for only 99 cents. It is a low-cost investment in advancing yourself into your greatness. So go ahead to Amazon.com, type in Stay the Course, look for the book with the big fat red letters, Stay the Course, and the compass pointing north. And yours truly, Dominic Brightman, is the author. And I thank you in advance for all that you do. Go out there and dominate. And today on the Going North podcast, we're back at you again with another host-to-host special, baby. And this podcast host is an author too. Woo! And not only is she an author, she's a special kind of author because she's also the creator of more than 32 number one best-selling books, baby. 32. That's right. She went past the legal age of 18. She went past the drinking age of 21. Went all the way to 32, baby. That's right. That's right. 32 best-selling books. You know, folks want their one book to be the bestseller, but she's done it 32 times. And not only that, she also comes from a journalist and a philanthropy background, and she's gifted in organic search engine ranking for her clients. And the wonderful thing about that is she also has a 3-generation book publishing background with a successful track record of building podcasts, as well as a referral-based real estate business. And also her current business includes providing organic search engine ranking monthly, ongoing service for business growth. She's all about growing metaphorical trees, baby. That's right. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful person is. It's the one, the only, E.G. herself, not EKG, Miss Erica Glessing. How are you today, ma'am?
Hey, I am so happy to be here with you, even if it is early in California. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had to wake you up and shake you up without baking you up, right?
Exactly. It does sound kind of wild when you introduce me. I just don't think I'm content. I'm always like, what else could be better? Oh, yeah, let's do that. Oh, I remember when my books first said they want to be bestsellers. I was like, I don't know how to do that. What are you thinking? It was in 2014. And I had never had a bestseller. I'd had all these books, and I had never had a bestseller. And my book publishing company was just like, hey, what would happen if everybody was a bestseller that came to work with you? And I went, oh, that kind of sounds good.
Yeah, Maury and Conda, it is freaking good. It is that darn good. That's right, pedigree style. And the beautiful thing about introductions, that's not all there is. So mind filling in some cavities where I may have missed some things during the introduction?
Well, I have 3 kids. That's pretty good. I love them. They keep me, well, I would say they keep me out of trouble, but I'm not sure that's accurate. I seem to be able to find trouble anyhow. Oh, dear.
Yep. Yep, getting on this podcast is trouble. Dad jokes await usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you did a really nice job with my introduction. I'm really appreciative, and I'm guessing by the time the show comes out, we may have another bestseller on our hands. So, you know,
33, baby. That's right.
that's right. Let's take it to the next one.
That's right. Take it to the head, baby. Take it to the head. That's right. Just make the book fly at people's heads, baby. Woo! Knock them unconscious. Yep. And then you just have a little frog snag their wallet out their pocket, take out a good $24.99, and then put it back in their wallet, and then they wake up and they got a new book.
Yeah. Yeah, and the books are really designed to like help us with stuff that, basically I choose them because they're going to help me with something I'm stuck on. So then I let a book come and teach us, like I invited in. It's usually something that compels me or gets me stuck or gets me where I want to learn something. And so usually the books come in as an answer to some questions that, I've either been hearing in my head, which is dangerous, or or actually people have asked me.
Freaking Happy Publishing. 16 ways to burn a house down. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Brought to you by Happy Publishing.
Yeah, my book company, my first book was called Prospect When You Are Happy. And that was, I had a publisher up in Oregon. And then she's like, well, if you had your own publishing company, what would you call it? And I was like, well, I'm pretty happy. like when everybody thinks about me, that's what they think, right? I mean, if I don't even try. So I was like, well, I'll just call it Happy, and then that would be all right. And so I did. And that was in 2007 or 8, I think.
Oh, yeah. So over a decade of dollars to make you holler. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend people, if you're interested in publishing a lot of books in your lifetime, to have your own publishing company, because it really is fun to have it. It basically takes all that stuff out of your head of, oh, I'll write a book when a publisher thinks I'm cool. Oh, I'll write a book when I meet a publisher. Once you are the damn publisher, you have no excuses.
That is true. That is actually true.
You'd be like, oh, I'll write a book when I look in the mirror. It kind of takes that right off the table, that thing of I need someone to validate my book, or I need someone to tell me my book's important, or, I need to know that, the New York Times is going to think it's good or something. I wrote for the New York Times. I don't really require validation. I mean, it is nice to have readers. Don't get me wrong. It's not that fun to not have any readers, but I don't think you should not write a book because you're waiting somewhere for someone to validate it.
Right about that. You were right about that.
Hard to argue with that, huh, babe?
Yeah, especially in 2019. No one has an excuse now. It's like, I need to write a book. It's like, hey, I know a person. I know a gal. And her last name starts with G, so you definitely know she's good, right?
I got the G thing.
The G thing. Another G, never mind.
Yeah, we knew we were going to be trouble. Yeah, y'all might think that we were innocently going forward, but we actually had pre-chatted, and actually Dom was on my show, and so we already knew we were going to be trouble.
Oh, yeah. It was going to be like a incomplete Oreo cookie. We got the chocolate. We got the cream. That's right. Woo! And the beautiful thing about the upcoming book, it's going to be even more fabulous because it talks about a very hot topic, which is self-love. Mind going a little deeper into that?
Oh, I'd be delighted to go a little bit. I'll try, but really people are going to have to get the book because it was written by many different self-love experts, and also some people that have just found self-love on their own journeys, which every single journey is unique. And I put the book together. I'm the publisher, and I chose to be a yes to that book because it seemed like something that when we stand in that space of honoring ourselves. So much is possible that isn't if we're not. And it just seemed to me like a book whose time had come.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, we're not really taught that. We're taught, the first chapter by Grace Engel is so good. She's like, we're taught to be good. We're not taught to self-love. We're taught to do good in school and to do good at sports and to do good in classes and then to do good in our job. And we're taught to be good, which technically is very different from loving oneself, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of how the book opens, is with hers.
That's right. Everybody's taught to be a blacksmith. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Don't say nothing. Read reviews. Stay just over broke and keep the cycle going, baby. That's right.
So depressing when you say it like that. I'm gonna go crawl into my little wall. I don't want to do that life. Like, there must be something better, right?
Yeah. Kind of like a failure turtle. Just get back in the show.
Failure turtle. Get back in my shell. That's like when you fail at dating. You'd be like, you know what? I'm just get back in that shell. I'm gonna see y'all another 10 years.
Damn. Then again, the dating scene might get worse. I don't know.
Yeah, hiding doesn't usually solve things, unfortunately. As tempting as it is.
That's right. That's why I got to let a light shine and be happy, right?
Aw. Well, you can let your light shine on your terms. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone else's terms. You don't have to, I mean, you have to do stuff that, I don't know. It's interesting. I was on the phone this morning with someone. We're working on her podcast. And she was like, we were talking about her podcast, and she's written a book, and it's going to sort of be reading from it. So it's pretty easy. And then I talked about, well, how is that going to help your life? How are you going to connect with the readers? How are you going to connect with people who want to learn from you? And as we got there, she got very uncomfortable. Like, we were pushing out against her comfort zone. And I said, well, it's all right. If you don't go against your comfort zone, you'll have the same experiences. So if you want something different, you can't have the same exact experience. You have to think of some new ways of connecting with people. And we both just looked at each other, because she was like comfortable being uncomfortable. It was really amazing. Like, she sat there being uncomfortable, going, and I said, right, this is how you're going to meet new people. This is how you're going to expand your life, is by connecting with people and letting them meet you, letting them connect with you.
That's true. Right to connect, baby. That's right.
Well, you do it every day. You're such a good connector, by the way. I'm so grateful for you. Would you send me like 8 new people for my show? I was like, wow. Yeah, nobody does that. Like, nobody just sits there and opens their Rolodex and then just says, hey, can I help you? And you do that. You're really amazing. In case no one told you that, like, this morning.
I
Or this afternoon.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. Got words for the marshmallow angel. This is great. This is awesome. Oh, that's beautiful indeed. That is beautiful indeed. And it's true. It's like, hey, writing leads to wealth, as the old Ben Franklin used to say. And then I'm pretty sure there may have been some trials you had to overcome to get to that point where you're actually publishing over 32 best-selling books of mine, going through some stuff that you may have had to go through and that you want other folks to learn from and not do when they may want to start their own publishing company.
Oh my gosh, like everything I did, don't do. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, damn, okay.
So I guess, well, you know, it's funny because I don't actually believe, like, so having a publishing company is not like a panacea for happiness. Like, it's kind of, they can be at odds, because you're working with people and getting out of their comfort zone and doing things they've never done before. And so a lot of people you work with are very uncomfortable. with themselves at that point as they're stretching their wings and learning how to fly and like them like fall, and it's kind of awkward. But I must say, like at the other side of it, like on the other side of the journey, when you fully expand and you've got these systems for your books, and your books can just keep helping people and keep helping people, and then you get these letters. Oh my gosh, this lady, this is why I do this. Okay, she tells me, she wrote a really kind of sad post on Facebook. She's, and so I put in her private message, you know what? I happen to be free this afternoon. If you just want a quick, like 25-minute session, that's just my gift. Let's connect, because I could feel she needed some TLC. So we get on this call, and she gave me the biggest gift. Like I was helping her with her, she had lost her job and she had to get a new job, and she was like driving 2.5 hours to get to her job that she was losing. And it was a really depressing time for her. She needed some help. She told me that when she gets in her car, she studies one of my books and she opens it to like this one page that she finds inspirational. And she had for like a month every day opened up and read a page from my book to help her get by, like to help her day. Like, and you wrote the book a long time ago, and then someone comes and tells you that it's like their guiding light that keeps them, sane. And I just sat there with that energy of that, because you don't know when, right? I mean, how do you know that, Dom? When someone's opening up your book and reading it, you don't know, because it's like you have no idea. And so when someone tells you that like this book was called The Power of Releasing Judgment, and it was about releasing self-judgment and releasing all those judgments and shoulds and self-hatreds and stuff. It came out, gosh, I don't know, 2015, a couple years ago. And she told me it's her guiding, like it's one of her guiding lanterns of her world. And when you hear that, you're like, that's good. Like, that's a good feedback. Like, that makes you get up in the morning and go, I'm going to publish more books. If I can help people in that manner where they feel guided and connected because they have your gifts in front of them, there's just really nothing better than that. That's like, 10 years of pay.
Oh, yeah. Another decade of dollars to make you holler. Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, I like the dollars too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, I have bills to pay and all that. But when someone actually gets moved and changed from your book, and then the other thing I would say for people is every book might have a different, like, absolute best system for it to get out to the world. So you can't really assume it's going to be better to have a big publishing house, or it's going to be better to self-publish, or it's going to be better to have a small publishing house. Mine is an independent mid-tier publishing house. Every book has like a way that it's going to get out best. So I try not, I mean, now I have my own publishing house, but when my first book came out, I actually showed it to I got 4 different publishers interested. And then I got 3 different publishers who would agree to work with me. And then the one that I chose she was an independent, small publishing house publisher. And she just was perfect for me for that book. And I ask a lot of questions about like the right thing. I try not to be in judgment of what the right thing might be, because my first book, it really wasn't a more traditional publisher. It wasn't the right choice for me at that time. I had very small children, and I just wasn't willing to do like a big national tour. The bigger publishing houses like really nice big national tours, and they like you to do a $10,000 marketing plan. And, they have all
Wow.
these demands of you. And I've always kind of looked at, okay, well, where would this book best, like every single book can have its own unique recipe. And you just kind of look at each one. I don't think the other thing I do is I look at, if I'm choosing publishing, is I look at, okay, if I look at other books like this, can I look at who the publishers are? And quite often you'll see like 20 different options if you look at who the publisher is of all the different books that you specifically like. And that's going to give you some guidance also.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's powerful right there. Powerful right there, indeed. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you just take um you want to choose what's right for your book and you, because your job is to like, you're like the coach of your book, or you're the you're the one that has to stand up for it and give it its thing. So it's your job to find like the right way for the venue. And self-publishing has gotten so much better, like so much higher quality. It used to be you could look at a self-published book and be like, you could have your nose all up in the air, and because the quality of the cover would be so different markedly than people who had a publisher. But now you can actually, if you have good designers on your team, that basically you can get rid of that whole thing. Your book can look just as good as anyone else's now doing it yourself, if you're willing to learn how.
oh yeah, kind of like my librarian buddy, Victory Parsons. She actually designed her own book cover, and it was freaking good. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Right? I can't design at all, like not even a little.
I mean, sure, write the letters on it at least, right?
What's that?
You can at least write the letters on there, right?
No, I prefer to. I have my skills. I write good words, like my prose. Right? I can write words. I can write poems too. Actually, maybe I'll write you a poem, Dom. That'd be fun.
That'll be interesting.
That's my way of saying thank you. Put me on your show. I'm write you a poem. How about that?
Oh, I'm game. Words for the Marshmallow Angel. There we go. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And of course, the whole $10,000 marketing plan is like, wow. And then the whole freaking national book tour thing. And then it's like, there's other options.
Well, see, that's the thing. Well, really. So, if you want to look at the publishing thing that I put into my classes, it's like there's basically, I'm sure there's others, but there's essentially like three tiers. And so the first one, self-publishing. You want to just look at, could you do what you want to do, could you get what you want to get with that system. And some people could do that way better than others, and it just depends. And then you have to look at, okay, mid-tier, that's when you usually pay for some of the services but you have a publisher on your team. Morgan James is one of the biggest mid-tier systems. Of course, my company is mid-tier, Happy Publishing. And then the larger publishing houses, they're kind of hurting right now. They're not, books are kind of having a little bit of struggle as far as bookstores, and there's so many arguments for our attention. Like there's TV and there's 4,000 cable channels and 27,000 podcasts, and so the books, the larger publishing companies they used to, when I started, they were looking for like evidence you could sell 5,000 books, and now they technically would require 30,000, but it'd be great if you could show that you could sell 50,000 books. And if you have an infrastructure for that, then they might be really interested in talking to you.
Wow.
The funny thing is, if you can sell 100,000 books yourself, like, do you really want to give the publisher 90%?
Nope.
Well, I don't know, because you might reach more masses. I mean, it's a different. I do know someone that got a really nice publishing contract with a bigger publishing house. She did have to do her own marketing though, so she did. She was HarperCollins, one of my friends. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, you are right though, because I think it was Patrick Snow in his book, The Affluent Entrepreneur, where he mentioned how he got as far as he could with his first book, Creating Your Own Destiny, until he approached the owner of Wiley Publishers at the time when he wrote the book to actually get that exposure
Uh-huh.
with that book, because he sold probably about it was like a good 100,000 copies maybe on his own, close
Nice.
to it.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I need to find a way to get to 1 million copies and get that exposure out there. And he was able to find the one guy that was part of the company that he could tell that would probably be the one that would help him to actually get over that hump. So he's able to reprint his first book and then release the other one, Affluent Entrepreneur, afterwards, and actually get that
Nice.
exposure. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. So there's still some advantages. I mean, getting the big bookstore, Barnes and Noble. That's probably really like the last bastion of big bookstores. Really, I guess
Yeah,
Walmart's
I
in
mean,
Chinatown.
I just wrote someone was asking me to come up with some numbers, and I look at my books probably approximately 2% sell in bookstores and 98%. Well, some sell like in person when an author presents them, because I published about 250 people. Probably a good 60-70% of book sales are when people are speaking or when they're presenting the book to people themselves,
Yep,
and the rest is all through digital, you know, online.
that's right. So we're playing hopscotch. You step on the line, online. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
thank you, Jeff from Amazon. You've done a fabulous job of building up my industry.
Woohoo! Yay, Amazon!
Right? I mean, it's changed everything for books.
Oh, that's right. Changed everything. That's right. From books, hell, the way up to more books, and then even more. And then, of course, the books become other things too,
Right.
audiobooks and programs and whatnot.
I love books. I mean, I still like if I'm up against something, I still love to get a good book about it. I mean, I even though like the trending gives you all these like horrible outlooks on books, I still think like I sometimes go and speak to middle schoolers. So I went in recently to a middle school and did a career day, and I like, would you rather have a really good podcast or a best-selling book? And every single kid raised their hand and wanted a book. Every single kid. Now, some of them also like the idea of having a podcast, but hands down, and these were like 13-year-olds, they wanted a best-selling book still. Like, if they could have anything they wanted.
Woohoo! That is freaking cool. That is freaking cool. And I'm pretty sure they all knew what a podcast was, right?
Yeah, I mean, they all have phones.
That's good.
show show me a teenager without a phone, right?
Sheltered. That's probably the one without the phone. Or maybe if they're
Well,
Amish.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. As soon as you said that, I was like, maybe they're Amish. Like, yeah.
Oh man, that's right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah. The reason I ask is like, even though folks got phones and whatnot, there's still folks that have no idea what the heck a podcast is. I mean, it's still growing, but it's like, oh, podcast. Oh, okay, that's cool. What the heck is that? Is
I
it like you
know.
put
I
it in a
know. I
bar or
went to
whatever?
a networking event and they invited me to talk about podcasts. So I went to talk about having a podcast because I believe like every author should have a podcast. So I had presented for a few minutes and then like this one lady raised her hand. She goes, I just have no idea what a podcast is.
Yep. Yep.
I was like, all right, let me back up here. Let me go a little slower.
That's right. From Sonic all the way to Knuckles. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, speaking of podcasts, and you're a fellow podcast host, you're able to amass over, what was it, over 500,000 downloads so
Oh no,
far?
500,000 streaming listens.
Streaming
I
listens?
think I have 40,000 downloads. So sometimes people listen to a podcast. Like when I listen to them, I actually listen to a podcast on my desktop. So
Nice.
you don't actually have to download a podcast. You can just listen to it. But if you streaming listen to it, it doesn't count as a download. So the download is when someone actually, pushes download on their phone or subscribes on iTunes and actually downloads it.
Woohoo!
Yeah, my show is called The Erica Glessing Show. In case anyone was confused about that show, it's got a name, which it took my name. It ran off with it. I'm trying to get it back.
You're not getting it back.
It went took my name. I'm like, really? You want my name, huh? But it basically that gave me the freedom to change because I hate staying the same. So that way I could just sort of talk about whatever I felt like. My daughter said, Mom, just name it your name, then you can talk about anything you want. I was like, yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, because it's like I interview authors, and some folks approach me, and the author's like, "Hey, do you interview just authors?" Like, yeah, it's in the description, buddy.
Well, authors really need you, so
Yeah,
you got called. You've been called.
yeah. I'm not even Tyrone either. That's the funny part about it. Whew. So, what's been your biggest lesson learned thus far in the world of podcasts that you've been doing it for a while?
Huh. Oh my goodness. Let me think about my biggest lesson.
It can be
Well,
two.
the first one is kind of like stupid, but it's like, don't give up. Like, right around that corner of where you think you're like totally not doing what you think you're doing, then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, the evidence will happen. So it's like, I actually personally did 3 failed shows that are on cutting room floors. They never made it to the light. And then my show that took off, it was, I don't want to, so it's like people say, overnight sensation, but you didn't see my 2013 effort.
After the world ended, right?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't see that, and you didn't see like when I became a news reporter in a million years and a half ago and did all those interviews. And so then all you're going to see is like when my show made like 10,000 listens its very first month out the gate. You're like, oh, but you didn't see those other things where I totally screwed up and made decisions that um, didn't serve. They didn't work. They weren't listened to. And what I can say is, you it's like it's this interesting combination. This is what's showing up for me is you want to stick on your intention but also listen to your audience. So it's like stick on your intention. So for you, like stick on your talking to authors, right? And then also if you get feedback like maybe they'd like more books about, maybe they really listened really well when you did a strong nonfiction self-help book, or maybe they listened really well when you did, a kid's book, and you'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna give them more of that. So it's this combination of like sticking on your guns, but also not being in a vacuum. Does that help?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like you're cleaning out a vacuum cleaner. It's like you become the vacuum cleaner.
I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure it was important. I'm sure I'll get it later when like I'm listening to it. Like, I'm sure I'll be like, oh, that's what he meant by that. I can, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. I can like not get jokes. Like even really obvious ones. I could be like, like those little cartoons that you see and everybody's like laughing and sharing them. And I'm like, I have just no idea what that means. And then like, I'll be like, weeks later, I'll be still looking at it because I hate not getting things. And all of a sudden I'll get it. And it'll be like, and then it's kind of a letdown when it takes you that long to understand something though.
Oh, you're gonna hate me then. Half my jokes people don't even get, and then we understand. Like, damn you, Dom.
You need to run around and record yourself so that when you do hit it and everybody starts getting it, you can be like, oh, I got more of that, baby.
That's right.
I got more where that came from.
Oh yeah, that's right. Solid advice indeed. Don't give up. Indeed, don't give up. So I guess that's what led you to interviewing folks from all over the world, because I think you interviewed not only authors but also light workers and other entrepreneurs, spiritual based entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so my interest in my show was basically, so I started it to give the people that I publish another venue for communicating their, excellence. And so I was actually looking at it was 2016, and I was doing my vision for the future. And every year I do this thing, I call it it's a self-fulfilling prophecy letter. and it's like a game plan for my next year. So every November, I look out at like the fabric of the following year. So in November 2016, so November 2014 is when I got that I needed to get all my authors to become best-selling authors. So that changed everything because I had to change how I did everything to get that. Then 2016, I did the same thing, and I said, okay, well, what else can I do to help my authors, basically help the authors that I publish? And it said, you should have a podcast. And I was like, what? I'm like, no, I want to help my authors. Like, what are you talking about? Like a podcast? It was like, yeah, you should build a podcast. And I was like, well, actually, I kind of got lit up and excited about it because it sounded like fun. And a podcast is cool because it's like you can make it any morning and then you can air it later. You can interview people. So basically, I looked at most of my audience is like a reluctant entrepreneur. So it's like an author, or it might be a speaker, someone who helps people, heals people, brings light to a situation, or it might even be a marketing person that can help us, the reluctant entrepreneur. And so my audience is basically a lot of people, entrepreneurs, but maybe they'd rather be just doing their thing and not necessarily having a business. Like they might have a business, but it might not be their job one in life to have a business. Like they might just really want to express themselves, and couldn't the money just show up? And so so I try to bring on guests who will bring light to my audience. So it's either other authors. I actually have some really interesting authors that I brought on. Yeah, there's a guy named Dom. I think you heard of him. Maybe he's going to be on pretty soon.
Woohoo!
So yeah, that was the intention of my podcast, was actually to promote authors. But my authors are from all walks. And so I just give myself permission to interview inspirational people who I believe, here's my thing. If you do something new every single day towards where you want to be 1 year from now, if you do something every single day, you take a step every single day, you do one step. I don't care if that's like going to the gym for the first time, or it might be, writing your first poem, or it might be like calling someone who could be of help to you on your journey. Do one single thing every single day. And then 365 days from now, you're going to be somewhere different.
Amen to that, indeed.
Right?
I love it. I love it. That's right. Do something new, baby.
Every single day. And that's how my podcast came about, was like, what could I bring people every single day? What could someone do new? So every one of my shows, which aren't daily, they're kind of haphazard right now as far as when they air. But the intention of them is to bring you like one inspirational thing you could do that could give you a new life if you kept doing new things every day for a year. So that's my intention. And I do give myself freedom to interview people. I really I think it's like cross-pollinating. So I really like being in different groups of people. I think I was like that in high school. Like I didn't fit in any one group. Like I always like bringing ideas from one group to another. So so I try to bring on inspirational people from different walks.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it too. I forgot which interview it was. I went like like a year back in your backlog. It was like January last year, and there's this one lady. She had like gray hair, but she looked like she was freaking 30 with gray hair, and it was freaking amazing.
Oh yeah, baby. She wrote in my book, Breast Easy, and she is amazing. Kim Coleman, that was that guest. And she looks 30. I don't know how she does it either. And her hair is naturally gray. She's amazing. She's so inspirational. She teaches how to like be comfortable in your body, like no matter how old you are. Yeah, she's a real thing. Isn't that interesting? She's an interesting guy. She wrote a chapter about breasts. It was called Breast Easy. And what had happened was my daughters were starting to get them, and I got present to how everybody hates their own. Like if they're small, they'd be like, I'm too small. If they're big, they'd be like, oh, I don't like being big. If they're in the middle, they'd be like, oh, I wish I was more of this, or I wish I was a C, or I wish I was a B, or oh my God, I wish I could just wear a tank top. Nobody was allowed to just be okay. like every single girl that I was looking at was like upset with who they were. So my book came out and it was basically interviewing, had authors in it, including that one author, Camp, who basically talk about being okay with yourself no matter what you look like.
Yep, and she is a great example of that because she looks freaking stunning. I'm like, wow, all right. Like, dang. Breast Daisy, huh? That's a fun title right there, Breast Daisy.
Yeah, it didn't get that much publicity, but we were a little bit too, I think we're a little too calm with our publicity. Like we should have shown a lot more,
Well, if any of the authors are interested in being on this podcast, send them my way so I can.
Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, baby.
Yes, indeed. Especially Miss Casey yourself. So
Yeah,
cool.
my topics are really weird. I get these ideas and then I just kind of sit with them and then they just kind of like take over. Like the courageous self-love journey was just like it's a topic that's kind of like I've always actually, to be honest, kind of avoided that topic. So
I mean, hey, someone needs to come up with the weird ideas and publish them. I mean, hey, we're in their generation now where folks are a lot more accepting and at the same time a lot more, well, for a lack of a better word, buttered over everything. So it's kind of the perfect,
the perfect time.
yeah, it's like the perfect time for everything. It's
Yeah, and the other well, what my chapter was about was really about like how in this thing that like entrepreneurs do where they say you have to niche or you have to like focus on one area or you have to like I was like, if I tried to do that, I would not be being myself. If you could pigeonhole me that easy, I'd be dead. Yeah, I don't even think people are going to be able to pigeonhole me when I'm dead. They'd be like, who was she? I don't know.
Damn.
but she was inspirational.
Make that the epitaph, right?
Yeah, I don't know who she was, but she was inspirational. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, in the assembly line of life, she was thrown out because she was special. She flew out of the warehouse. She was not alive. That's right.
Oh my gosh, right? I don't know about this one.
You just visualized that one, didn't you?
Oh, that was funny.
Oh, yeah, funny like a pun bunny. That's right. Well, and speaking of wonderful books outside of yours and the ones that have been published by you, has there been any other books that have inspired you to make you the Erica that you are today?
Well, mostly any book by Maya Angelou. So she was one of my early influences. All her poems, I love her poems. I still read her poems and still I rise. I love her poems. And then another one, her name is Ntozake Shange, and she wrote for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow was enough. And those books, like I still open up those books when I need a little encouragement of being myself and not fitting into a cookie cutter,
Oh, yeah.
Those are my influences, it's like the poets, the Nick Giovanni, just the poets that I read when I was a little girl continue to, I get inspired by song lyrics also. So I could wake up, hear a song lyric, and that could spur like a whole book getting born,
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Great choices. Yeah. Some cool breeze and the song lyric. It's like, yeah, we're not gonna take it. Oh, we're not gonna take it.
Oh, now you're gonna be discovered. Not just messing.
Sweet. Then I could be on the Discovery Channel because I'm discovered.
Yeah, I really just encourage people to stand out. Just don't even look at the box. Like, just throw away the box. Like, don't be creating to help someone understand. Like, don't go in and say, well, she sold 27,000 copies, so I'm write a book just like that, and I'm going to sell 27,000 copies, whatever. You want to just be yourself, so ridiculous that people just go into awe about you. It's like a crazy, it's so unpredictable as far as that. And then sometimes if you're either, you might be ahead of your time, and then sometimes it takes time a little while to catch up with you. So it was funny. I just did a bestseller campaign. I had a book I wrote in 2011 called Happiness Quotations. I woke up, it was so funny. It was Thanksgiving week, and I was kind of, I don't know what happened. I was bored or something. So I said, well, I'm just do a bestseller campaign on my 2011 book. And I got number one. It was so fun. It was like, I wrote it in 2011, but it's like just now, like coming into its time. Like people are starting to understand it now, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean happiness quotations. Folks are gonna need that nowadays. Kind of goes back to early where folks are just getting quote unquote butthurt about everything. It's like, man, probably need something to make
Yeah.
me feel a little bit better about myself or something.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you write something and you don't know this, but you're writing it ahead. And so, or, so it might have, that's why you can't give up on it, because it might be ahead. Like, not everyone might be ready for it. And when you're sharing it, people, if they get that glazed look in their eye, you might be ahead of your time.
That's right. And if they're glazed, that means they become a donut.
Speaking of which, is it time for breakfast yet?
Oh yeah, time to break the fast indeed. Well, a question I like to ask every guest, and that is if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 in the current year of 2019, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what would be the advice that you would give to yourself?
you know, I had the strangest word came into my head, was like, it didn't make any sense, but it was like swagger more. It was like stand taller. It was like show your knowledge more, like believe in yourself before others believe in you. Like just stand a bit more in your knowing, because it's going to be all right. Like it's going to be all right. Like it will work.
Heck yeah. That's right. That's right. Shake your tail feather, stroke with your peacock feathers. That's right.
Well, sometimes, I mean, that wouldn't be for every single person. Like some people are really good at that. But the people that tend to do well are willing to see their own beauty and grace. Like they're willing to understand that they have a message. They're here on the planet for a reason, and to know their knowing. Because as you stand in that, it gives others permission to do the same, you know? I
Oh,
mean, you certainly had to do it. Look at your road. You had to prove the doubters wrong.
oh yeah, and not all of them are vocal. It's like some of them be hiding in the Facebook feed, like, yeah, just gonna scroll over this page. What the hell he doing? All right, he was on that show. All right, I'm gonna find that show. I'm gonna try to get on it. Yeah, he got a book. I'm gonna come with a book too. That's right. Yeah, he's talking about penguins. We're gonna talk about penguins too. This is gonna be awesome. Let me stop.
Yeah, I mean, like whatever it was that gave you that thing when you were a kid, to be willing to be in front of people and be willing to speak, like that's a gift. That's something you got that not everybody has. And it's hard sometimes for us to see our own gifts. Like we could be blind by that. We could not be willing to see how we can just help being ourselves. So I would say to my 25-year-old Erica, I don't know what I'd say, but she was a reporter. Um, Probably I'd say ask for more money. You're worth it. When I look at my newspapers and what they paid me, I'd be like, maybe you should ask for more.
Oh yeah, that's right. Know your value. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Know that value indeed. Some conscious self-love, baby. That's right. That's right. Especially when lotus flowers are involved, right?
Aw, yup. Blossom like a lotus, baby.
Woo! Well, speaking of blossoming, for those who want to give you, want to suck some of your nectar, metaphorically speaking, like a bee, and get some pollen out in the world, how do we keep in contact with you?
Well, I made a special gift for your fam, and it is at happypublishing.net/going-north. And that's going to be a 7-video series on how to build your book. So it's going to talk about writing your book, publishing your book, marketing your book. And I really enjoy putting that together. So maybe your audience might enjoy it. You can send me a Gmail at happypublishing@gmail.com. And you can check me out at the Erica Glessing Show. And you can check you out there too.
Oh, yeah, they get to check me out like a library book. That's right.
I know, right? Like a library book. Oh, my home. The library is my home.
Oh, yeah.
Where I found home.
Another reason why you're on the show today.
Aw, because the library was my home.
That's right. Where all the knowledgeable homies are. That's right. Yeah. Of course, the storytelling homies, too.
Right? Love me some library.
Oh, yeah, that's a t-shirt right there.
I still go. Whenever I need a little something, I just go to the library. I have 4 different library cards because I go to the Palo Alto Library. There's one near my house in San Jose, and then there's also the county has a library system. So my wallet is chock full of library cards.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's right.
Woohoo! Happy customer, happy life. Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Go on out there, hit that download button. I know we got some folks out there looking to write their book, and this is the era to do it because everybody and their mama's writing the book. Like even everybody and their grandma was writing the book, so this is your time to get on there. And Erica's the person up you do it. Cop that video series, become a bestseller. Heck, even then, find your way on to both podcasts, both me and Erica's podcasts, where you can get 8 minutes plus of goodness. That's right.
There you go.
Woo! Yes, indeed.
Thank you for having me. It was a joyful moment.
So Happy and Grateful, written by Antonio T. Smith Jr., is life-changing. We are an unhappy people and we make unhappy decisions. But he teaches us that if we take on the responsibility of our happiness, if we look at happiness and gratitude as our duty, as our responsibility, as our birthright, we can't help but to have a prosperous life. Go buy So Happy and Grateful by Antonio T. Smith Jr. You won't be disappointed.